I guess I'm going to start this episode out with a funny story. I kind of don't want to tell it, but I will. Um, you guys know I really want to do this. I want to make this a staple as part of who I am, as a part of my brand. And ultimately, I really want to help people. And you may be in a season of life where your mind is all over the place. And I really believe that to push forward, you've got to anchor to some serious strength, especially in a world where everything is competing for our attention. And we all know this. The older we get, we know this. So, how do we combat it? But that's not what this episode is going to be about. But I just kind of wanted to start out that way. And okay, the funny thing is, I was talking to my mom over the weekend, and she was talking about this podcast, and I said, "Oh, but mom, did you even listen to the rest of it?" And she said, "No." I got a little bored. And I laughed at that because her and I have a fun humor. But it's not that it's boring, it's just that it's part serious. And guys, I have done the work to get my mind in the best place, and that required some sacrifices, that required some major journaling and working hard to get this mindset where it needed to be. All right, let's just jump in. Hey champs, Rachel here. Today's conversation, we're going after something sneaky, something we experience everywhere, something that can sound encouraging while actually shutting us down. We're talking about platitudes, those quick feel-good sayings people toss out like confetti. Oh, everything happens for a reason. It is what it is. Just stay positive. All of these words sound supportive, but sometimes they do the exact opposite. Welcome back to the Daily Champ. This show is all about what it takes to reset, rise up, and champion yourself in the process. Okay, I've got a question for you. Has anyone ever thrown a cliche at you when what you really needed was someone to sit with you in the hard thing? See, platitudes are everywhere. They show up in the workplace pep talks and quick hallway conversations. They show up in church lobbies, the Instagram captions, during breakups at funerals, even when someone's launching something new and terrifying. And most of the time, we use them because we truly want to help. We want to avoid the awkward silence. We don't know what to say, and we don't want to say the wrong thing. We're trying to smooth over discomfort as quickly as possible. We think positivity is the fix. But here's the real issue. Platitudes tend to comfort the speaker, not the person who's actually hurting. They can unintentionally minimize someone's reality. They can interrupt emotions that need more room, and they can rush healing that can't and shouldn't be rushed. They can replace meaningful action with pretty but empty words. So sometimes what's intended to comfort actually feels like dismissal. And that's where today's conversation begins. We're going to talk about the ways to move beyond platitudes. I think in the long run, it's going to be better for you as a person and with your relationships, better for you in your business, and you're going to become, more connected to the people that you are speaking with and doing work with, or just doing life with. Okay, so number one, platitudes aren't actually the enemy, avoidances. Platitudes show up whenever vulnerability enters the room. They're kind of like placing a band-aid over a broken pipe. The problem is still gushing underneath though. So a personal story, and I've talked about this quite a bit, and I kind of pull from my corporate life days because this podcast is really about championing our mindset in business, and we're going to touch on life overall. But in corporate life, I did hear a lot of everything happens for a reason. You'll be fine. You always figure it out. And sure, those are kind words, but they didn't acknowledge that I was stepping into fear, risk in a completely new world. So a more supportive alternative would have been something like, again, back to the example of walking away from corporate life and starting something new. You could say something like, I know this took courage, and I know that this probably feels exciting right now, but also feels really scary. So you're trying to make a real connection over ready-made comfort. Number 2, leaders often use platitudes instead of presence. It's so tempting as a leader to lean on phrases like, we've got this. But a motivated team without clarity is just exhausted. So a personal note here is when building Champcast, I caught myself wanting to gloss over the challenges because positivity just feels easier. But the real breakthroughs, the real trust came when we named what wasn't working and we fixed it together, because leadership isn't about sounding collected. It's about being honest and guiding forward. So something you can try instead is, what's the toughest part of this right now? Okay, it's an amazing question to ask somebody who is going through it all their uncertainty. Another thing to say to them is, here's what we're working on next to improve it. So you're developing presence. You're focusing on presence over pep talk. Number 3, platitudes can silence pain. Sometimes people are just not ready for the bright side, right? In seasons of grief, burnout, or big transitions, what someone needs most is space, not a shortcut to positivity. A personal takeaway here is any healing I rushed always came back around later. So when someone's going through it, instead of saying, time heals all wounds, no, you can actually try, healing takes time, support, and patience, and I'm here with you in it. So you're really creating validation over varnish. Number 4, platitudes are easy, but empathy takes effort. So platitudes let us stay comfortable, right? But empathy asks us to step into someone else's experience. If someone says, oh, this change is overwhelming, the normal platitude response is, just trust the process. But the empathetic response is, what part feels the most overwhelming right now? Let's sort through it together. And personal reflection there is, like, all of these powerful conversations I've had in my life came from slower words and deep listening. So that looks like curiosity over cliches. And lastly, number 5, replace the cliche with a connection. We don't need the perfect response. We just need to show we actually care. And so here are a few simple upgrades of removing the platitudes and replacing it with something better, something more connected. So for example, you'll hear, God, I heard this when it was a new year, and I was going through a hard time, and a friend just said, it is what it is. And I was like, oh, is that how I should look at life? And I felt very dismissed. So I'm talking to this point because I'm going right back to that, how I felt. Oh, it is what it is. Like, no. I can't stand that. I actually hate that. But here's a better way of expressing that. This is tough. What support would help right now? Another platitude is, everything happens for a reason. You can say, a lot of meaning can come from this, even if we can't see it yet. Another one is, just stay positive. Yay, just stay positive. I don't like that one either. Another way of saying that, and you're building connection, is, your feelings are real. I'm here with you. Oh, and this one's good. This one's my favorite. Yeah, this one's my favorite, especially after a breakup or a job loss or financial strain. Hey, just move on. Move on. Just move on. Ugh. I said to people, you are not allowed to say that to me because it hurts. It doesn't heal. So you can, instead of saying that, you can go with, healing can be slow, and that's okay. All right, guys. So the next time you're about to say something like, hey, just hang in there, pause for one extra beat, swap the script, and ask a question instead. Offer presence, validate reality, and stand with someone in the unpolished moment. If you're in a season where people keep handing you platitudes, please listen closely. Your struggle deserves more than canned encouragement. Your story deserves substance. Your heart deserves depth. This is the season where you can start asking for and offering more genuine connection. So if this episode challenged you or encouraged you, I really hope that you share it with someone who's tired of cliches and ready for real conversations. And if you want to keep growing together, please join us inside the Daily Champ Facebook group where we talk about the tough stuff and champion each other forward. Thanks for watching the Daily Champ. See you next week.